Let's talk about spiritual resilience. I use the term spiritual to point to an inner dimension of being, an inner dimension of beingness. That is the source of wellness, the source of true strength, true power, the source of peace, the source of love, and the source of true immunity and true authority. An inner dimension that is always here, that is always present, that is always available, that is always in the background, although hopefully sometimes in the foreground, and yet is so often missed. So I use the term spiritual not as a pointer to a transcendent state, an elevated state, but a deeply grounded, deeply rooted, deeply present state of being, your natural state. It's here in this inner dimension. You could call it your inner sanctuary, you can call it your true sovereignty. Where there is a natural resilience, a natural goodness, a natural aliveness. Resilience doesn't come from the mind that thinks it's in charge, the mind that thinks it can control or overpower reality. It doesn't come from the mind or the self-identity, because the self-identity is connected or falsely draws its source of identity from the mind and its narratives based on its experience, its history, its background, its fears and its hopes. And that mind or that self-identity thinks it needs to be strong, it needs to be powerful in a way that comes from the personhood, from the personality. I need to develop more self-esteem. I need to develop more confidence. I need to become a more powerful person in the world, and so on, in order to cope with the vicissitudes of life, the challenges, the crises, the adversities, all the things that come at me, the unexpected things, the things that seem to threaten me, and so on. True strength, true power does not come from that. So the resilience I speak to is a spiritual resilience, an inner resilience that is naturally born from or flows from that which you already are, but which gets overlooked. So very often on the spiritual path, there's an idea that we can develop more of the qualities of inner spiritual resilience. Once again, it's already here. It's already what you are. It's not something that can be added to. You can't develop more beingness. You can't develop, you can't cultivate more presence. You can't add to that which is already your innate birthright. You can't add the qualities of joy. You can't add the qualities of compassion. It's not a spiritual pick and mix where if you do some techniques and you do some practices and you think about it and you have an intention for it and so on, that you can pick these qualities and add them to your inner dimension, add them to your inner beingness. That is the personhood trying to fix the personhood. It's on the surface. This is futile. What I'm pointing to is that which you already are. That which cannot be added to, that which cannot be taken away from. No one and no thing can take this away from you, and no one and no thing can add anything to this. So why is it that very often we do not feel resilient in the face of adversity? We do not feel resilient in the face of uncertainty. We do not stand as openness. We do not stand as presence, but we cower in fear. We shrink. We step back. We freak out. We panic. We project into the future. And we believe the stormy narratives of the mind, the surface mind. Why is that? Because we're looking the wrong way. It's as if we're flipped around, facing in the wrong direction. We're facing in the direction of the surface mind, the thoughts, identified with thinking, believing our thoughts to be who we are. And all the time, our true nature is here. Our true nature as presence, our true nature as openness, our true nature as wellness, as wholeness, is here, always, always. So what's called for in these times of adversity, and any times, all times, what's called for is a gentle, it can't be forced, a gentle turning around, facing the other way. It's not a retreat from life. It's not a retreat from reality. It's simply the direction that attention is going. I often speak about allegiance. We give our allegiance to the surface mind. The surface mind you can call ego self. We give our allegiance to that as if that is our true authority. When we give our allegiance to ego self, it's the same as giving your allegiance, or it's reflected by the allegiance we give to the mass unconsciousness of humanity, of the world. That's the fear. That's the hysteria. That's what we get force-fed through the news, through information that is very often misinformation. Yeah? We're giving our allegiance to an external authority. The external authority of the ego self, it's external because it's surface. It's surface, it's not who we are. It's created, it's an imagination. It's who we imagine ourselves to be. It's not our true selves, it's not who we really are. So we're giving our authority, our allegiance to an external voice. The external voice of ego self is the same as the external voices of the world. The external voice of authorities, the authority of our parents, that might still be playing itself out. The authority of our school teachers, still playing itself out. The authority of society, still playing itself out. The authority of those who tell us how to breathe, how to live our lives, how to take care of ourselves or not take care of ourselves. All of that upholds, perpetuates the false self and the direction that we're looking in. We're looking the wrong way. So it's not that we have to cultivate, add to ourselves more qualities of openness and presence and kindness and true power and true authority. We can't add that. We just have to look the other way. We just have to turn our attention. Yeah, it's like the waves on the ocean. Here they are. You don't have to control them. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to change them. You just have to turn your allegiance to what is true. Turning your allegiance to what is true is a falling. It's a falling open into the ocean of beingness that is always here, always here. It's never gone anywhere. It's never been anywhere else. It's never been diminished. It's just been covered over, seemingly covered over, because you're looking at the clouds, not realizing or recognizing that the sky has always been here. The sky is eternal, as is your true nature. And your true nature is presence and openness. If you can recognize this, if you can glimpse this, if you can make your practice this gentle turning and falling inwards and downwards into the depth of you, always, 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 without retreating from life, without pulling back from anything, standing right here where you are, then you will know your true resilience. And it's never been more important than now. It's not a spiritual issue. It's a human issue. Our very humanity is at stake in this. Our very humanity. Our humanity is our birthright of true sovereignty. Our true sovereignty as the openness and the presence and the inner authority that we have to listen to an innate intelligence, the innate intelligence of life, as it informs us from this depth, from this innermost, from this beingness. Intelligence doesn't come from surface mind. Intelligence comes from beingness, yeah, from openness. From there, everything that you need for wholeness, wellness, and how to maneuver, navigate your life is available. And so is peace. The peace in the midst of the storm, the heaven in the midst of the hell is always here. Yeah? It's not us shutting ourselves off. It's not us sticking our heads in the sand. It's our true resilience to stand as the unbroken amidst the broken, to bear what is seemingly unbearable, to feel and not make feelings the enemy. Mm-hmm. To feel our humanity and to not run away from that. But that feeling, the depth of feeling that is available in this, is not to do with the drama of emotion. That's on the surface. That's the personhood that is freaking out, that is panicking, that wants to control the future in order to feel safe and comfortable. This is the capacity to bear the discomfort and to know that all is well. Not all is well in some childish fantasy, but all is well now, because wellness, wholeness, beingness is always complete in itself, in this moment, now and now and now. It's living in the eternal now. From that place, you are more powerful, you are more effective, you are more efficient. Because you are not giving your energy and your allegiance to the froth on the surface. So this is important now. It's not a nice little spiritual side issue or side dish that we can just pick at when we want to. This is the call now. This is how we survive. This is how we thrive into whichever unfoldment is coming through humanity now. Yeah, we're at an evolutionary bifurcation point, individually, collectively, where we are called to remember our true sovereignty. Not from the top down, not from the ego self, but from the true self. Because when we are rooted in this inner dimension, when we finally realize and recognize and know from our innermost, know from our depth that it has never gone anywhere and it can never be stolen and it can never be silenced because it is silence. When you truly know that, then you will be rooted in your true immunity, immunity to all thought viruses, and immunity to all physical viruses. Viruses, whether they're thought viruses or physical viruses, can only enter where there is darkness. Darkness means you've turned away from your true nature, from your true sovereignty, which is light. Knowing your true nature is the light of consciousness. You see clearly. You have not turned a blind eye by giving your allegiance to the surface ego self. Viruses can only come into the darkness. Thought viruses can only harm you if you have forgotten your true nature. Then they'll make you sick, mentally sick, sick with worry, sick with fear. And they will make you physically sick. But in the light of your true nature, all is well. All is one. There is no enemy in that.